And in no way, and again, I say this because we've been involved in racing for a very long time, Charles. In no way was what I was trying to say to be controversial or to down the racetrack. It was more of a uplifting, if you will. This is something I think that you need to do that can help it. Why do you want to go down this road?
Right.
You know, you're going to take away a legacy that's been there. And I think about Charlie Powell also. I talked to Charlie Powell for a good 45 minutes to an hour last week about this conversation. And he said, and I quote, Wesley, you know, the guy's paid his least. There's only so much that I can do. You know, but if it gets really, really out of hand, I'm going to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
And I think after what Jerry unveiled last night on his show, Stars Radio, and then having him on Finish Line this morning, and what he's about to unveil, I think is going to be, why ain't this SOB in jail?
Yeah. Well, when you start changing something as obvious as going from asphalt to dirt, I think the owner has a right to step in and say, I don't think we're going to do this. I mean, that's messing with the actual facility itself, and I think there should be some guidelines there.
Don McCormick will be joining us here talking about the positive impact motorsports. So we're going to talk about the negative first with what's going on at Florence Motor Speedway and Florence I-95 Speedway, because he even tried to sneak and create a new account and this and that and everything else. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But in addition to that, Donald McCormick is going to be on with Positive Impact Motorsports. My good friend out of Deland, Florida. He got hooked up with my friend Joe Kelly up at Bubba Raceway Park and at Alltech Raceway, and they told me about this, and I said, well, we're going to kind of take it easy 4th of July, not going to have drivers on, people enjoying the holiday. Thank you, by the way, for stepping in and joining me as a co-host. But he's doing things, building race cars for kids, making kids be able to learn what it's like to be in motorsports, live the dream, to get involved in racing. I think it's something really cool.
I think so, too. I think very much so. And how many of us didn't start learning to drive when we were 7 or 8 years old and nobody knew about it? We're out in a cornfield where nobody could tear anything up. So I think that kids have that innate drive to want to be behind the wheel of something with an engine when you're about 7 or 8 or even 6 years old. Jeff Gordon started when he was 5, and that's the kind of thing that you have to do now. It's almost like Olympic athletes. If you're going to be at the top level, you got to start out early.
We are live at Toccoa Raceway, and also our final guest of the show will be Mike Neff, and we know Mike Neff.
We know Mike Neff.
Me and Mike and Charles have done some race broadcasts before.
We have all shared a hotel room at one point in Daytona.
True story. We had no hotel rooms left, no beds left, and
let's not go any further.
That's all. Me and Charles had to sleep in the same bed together because Mike was too big. He had to sleep in his own bed.
Yeah, Mike said, I got one bed. You two have to worry about it yourself. One sleep on the floor if you want to, so we shared a bed.
But for the most part,
thank you for putting that out there.
For the most part, though, in all seriousness, me and Charles did not sleep together. And what I mean by saying that is definitely, no, me and Charles did not sleep together. He's married, and I was happily married. I'm single now. But I like women. But what I mean to say is this.
This has gone off the rails.
This has. Thank goodness. I'm not going to get sued by the FCC. But we're being very, very nice in the way we're saying it. I'm a night owl. So I do a lot of work at night. Charles likes to sleep at night. So by the time that I went to bed, I might have laid in bed next to him and snuggled up for about 2 hours.
I wouldn't call it snuggled up. You laid in bed with pillows separating us, and I would get up about 4:30, and you would come to bed about 4:30. So we made it work.
We had a barrier, so to speak,
Lord
and
I
think the gun was under the mattress, as they say. So, wow. Let's just go quickly to the phone lines here and get Jerry Smith on the line. But
thanks for bringing that up.
But yes, it was going to happen one way or the other.
In the worst way possible, you brought it up.
Yeah, and it's going to happen one way or the other. And by the way, Mike Neff with Racing Brotherhood Foundation, that's a really great thing. Our thoughts and prayers are still with Daryl Menders, street stock racer, one of my good friends. He got involved in a crazy crash, burns, and he's still in the hospital. Thank goodness he's still alive, but he's recuperating. Yeah. But Racing Brotherhood was founded off of trying to help families and children of race car drivers that have tragically or got severely injured, paralyzed, or even worse.
Yeah, Daryl used to race with us when I was over at Anderson Motor Speedway, and he was one of the regulars over there back in the early years, so I've known Daryl for a while.
All right, so we're going to go to the phone lines here, and we are going to call up Mr. Jerry Smith. Jerry Smith will be our first guest from Florence, well, formerly. I want to say that again, formerly of Florence Motor Speedway, and as well as, whatever other trying to track name he wants to try to call it as, Florence I-95 Speedway. Bottom line is here, we're going to talk about this story. We're going to go from beginning to end. I told him I'd give him about 30 minutes or so to join me on the show, join Charles on the show. We're going to talk about Florence Motor Speedway. And promoters, take this as also a lesson of what not to do in this industry, what not to do in this sport. Try to look at it being as something more positive. And somebody that I've known for a very, very long time. I've got such a great friendship with, and it literally came to a point where me and Jerry, he called me out. I made a comment about something last night or yesterday afternoon, and he said, "Man, why you got a problem with me, Wesley?" And then he proceeded to tell me about
folks have been asking
going
that
on.
question for years and years.
What?
Why in the world you got a problem with me, Wesley?
Yeah. So, Jerry Smith from Stars Radio, as well as formerly Florence Motor Speedway. Good morning. Welcome to Finish Line, my friend.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, buddy. How's your day going?
Hey, it's going pretty good. I can't complain a whole lot. It's hot, as you know what, here in South Carolina, and I'm guessing it's about the same way down there in Georgia. You guys.
It is, man. I think the ambient temperature outside right now is a balmy, it ain't that bad. It's 87 degrees.
Yeah, but it'll get up into the 90s by the time race time comes.
It will, definitely. I'm not going to lie to you, Jerry, before we go on subject to what we're supposed to talk about. I'm really looking forward to going to Wild and Wonderful West Virginia, and I hope it's going to be nice and cooler up there than it has been down here in the South.
Well, I got to tell you, I was in Boone, North Carolina last weekend on vacation, and it was about 20 degrees cooler there than it was in Columbia, South Carolina. So I would say being up there in the mountains, it probably will be considerably cooler for you up there in West Virginia.
Awesome. Well, good deal. I hope you had a great vacation, joining it with your family and your loved ones. And I know that, the old reality is as fast as we go on vacation, we enjoy vacation, it's over and done with. And, it's right back to work again. So definitely.
It is. It was short vacation. It was also mine and my wife's anniversary. And this is the first year that, we didn't have no kids on vacation. They're all grown and moved on with their lives. So this is the first opportunity that we've had to get out, just the two of us, and enjoy some time. And, we didn't do a whole lot. We did go do a few things while we were up there in Boone, but it was just more or less getting away from the rat race here in Columbia, South Carolina, and just kind of hang out.
Man, isn't it great to be able to go on vacation kids-free? We've been doing that now. Debbie and I have for about 20 years, so our kids have been long gone. And sometimes it's good to have them come up for a day. Matter of fact, my daughter just texted me and said, we're heading out on vacation tomorrow. Could she come to the swimming pool with her friends up there? So it's good whenever they want to come, but then they can go back home. And
That's right.
You're not stuck with the kids for the rest of the week.
Yeah, definitely. So it's always fun time to go on vacation without the little ones, ain't it, Jerry?
It sure is. We got one that's still in college, but it's college locally, so she'll come over and stay a night or two, and then she'll leave. But I tell her she's a 50-50 kid right now. She only stays there about 50% of the time. So, but we love having them around when they all come in. I got 5 kids, so it's definitely a pleasure when they all do get to come in there. So.
Well, let's go down to brass tacks here. Jerry Smith again joining us for Stars Radio. By the way, join him for Stars Radio every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on Jerry Smith's Facebook page and your short track auto racing source. I've known Jerry for, my goodness, how long has it been, Jerry? Almost 10 years, maybe more than that. Matter of fact, and this is just how it kind of spirals into talking about Florence Motor Speedway. In the debut of what is not now the PRA Tour, but was the Southeast Limited Late Model Series when it launched with Ed Cox and Kelly Cox and family. Bill Hennessy was there as well, Bill Hennessy. That was my best impersonation of the guy. Was
not bad.
Pretty close, wasn't it? I think Lenny Batikin comes a very close first to it.
Pit road.
So, yeah, down on pit road. But anyway, I digress. Back to what I was talking about, though, Jerry. Me and you worked at Florence Motor Speedway together, and that was around this time of the year. It was July 4th weekend, the debut of the Southeastern Limited Late Model Series. We did it for Stars Radio and also for Racers Reunion Radio. We were the radio broadcasters of that deal. It was a wreck fest. It was a long race. But I honestly have to say, besides the Fall Classic races that Charlie Powell put on, that's probably the last time I've seen Florence Motor Speedway be a packed house.
That's right. I remember that date very well, working down there at Florence, getting the Southeast Limited Late Models kicked off. Ed and Kelly Cox, they worked really hard to get that series going and get it up and running. And it became a very successful touring series for a limited late model class. I had a pleasure working with them. I worked with them guys for about 5 years, doing various events, PR, websites, announcing, just really whatever they needed me to do. And it all started right there at Florence Motor Speedway. And as a matter of fact, the very last race I worked for Ed and Kelly was there at Florence Motor Speedway, which was the last time the Southeast Limited Late Models came to Florence Motor Speedway.
Yeah. So let's just backtrack here. I'm there last race of the season. Charles Head, November. Normally, and I have such a great relationship with Charlie Powell. I know you've known him a long time. He's one of the most respected people. I know he can be a jerk. I know he can be difficult sometimes to work with. I worked with him myself. There are sometimes I just wanted to just hit him with a radio. But at the end of the day, it's his business. It's his company. Right. And I live by that motto. At the end of the day,
he's an old
he's
school
the boss
promoter.
man. He's old school.
He's like Rupert Porter used to be at Anderson, and Tom and his brother were at Greenville Pickens. Old school, Bud Lunsford at Lanier. Old school kind of promoters. Didn't take any crap off anybody.
That's right.
And they were going to run it the way they were going to run it, and yet they had a lot of respect from everybody and for all the racers.
That's right. And I mean, I literally, Jerry, I remember one night Charlie Powell was trying to get one guy off the racetrack, and the guy wouldn't get off the racetrack because he'd done some rough driving to another driver, and this man, Charlie, took it upon himself to get inside the pace truck, and he ran him down and he wrecked him. And then they turned around and they issued a warrant for his arrest because they said he tried to commit vehicular manslaughter. But then when it all came out of the wash that, he tried to hurt another driver with a race car, it was like a totally different story. So, that just shows you the dedication that he has, and he's such a big heart. But anyhow, last November, I was down there for the Fall Classic 500. They do it every year. Allison Legacy cars, late models, big money on the line, big shows, big super truck races, things like that. Just the equivalent of what Ron Barfield does at Dillon Motor Speedway or what they do at the Myrtle Beach 400. And he made the announcement that he was stepping down, that he was officially retiring. He is burnt out. It's been a fun ride. This guy's taken over. Right off the get-go, and mind you, let me say this to you on camera to everybody that's watching and people that are listening on Finish Line. This man gave me weird vibes right off the bat. I mean this with no disrespect, but there are some people that you come across in life, Charles Head, that you just feel weary of. They just make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
This is one of them. And then, Jerry Smith, you got involved in Florence Motor Speedway, and just talk about this spiraling roller coaster ride that you unveiled. And I got to commend you. Sometimes we have to eat crow. Sometimes we have to unveil things and get away from things that really breaks our heart, because at the end of the day, Jerry, we love the sport. We want to be involved in racing, but sometimes we just have to walk away, and you did that.
You're exactly right, Wesley. I met Stacy down at the Fall Classic last year. I really didn't know who he was. I was just there taking in the racing, minding my business, watching good Saturday night style short track racing. And somebody had introduced him to me and told me, that he was going to be the new owner of Florence Motor Speedway. And so just in our conversation, we talked a little bit about, my racing background, his racing background. And in December, the beginning of December, he had called me and asked me if he could come up and talk to me in Columbia. And he came up with another gentleman that he works with, and we talked a little bit about Florence, and he asked me if I'd be interested in being the race director. Well, Wesley, I'm like you. I've done about everything you can possibly do at a racetrack. I've